Good. Mr. Kowal, the meeting is yours.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to our special board meeting of September 23rd, 2020 at 5:30. This is an electronic meeting, meeting the requirements pursuant to Executive Order 2020-154 issued by the Governor Gretchen Whitmer on July 30th, 2020. The Board of Trustees meeting on Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020 at 5:30 will take place electronically due to health concerns associated with COVID-19. Although some stay-at-home restrictions have been lifted, Executive Order 2020-160 still prohibits indoor public gatherings larger than 10 people. Moving on to our meeting, I would like to call the meeting to order, and I'd like to have the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and
to the
to the
republic
republic for
for
which it stands,
one nation, under God,
Indivisible,
with
with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, fellow board members. Mr. Clerk, can you do roll call, please?
Mr. Kowal,
Here.
Mr. Lilly's here, Mr. Roman,
Here,
Mr. Ruggles, Mike Powell,
Here.
Andrea Voorhees, Liz Smith. Two absent, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you. We still have a quorum. Item number 5, public comment. If there's any comment you'd like to make at this time, you can raise your hand. At the *9 item will get your attention by Rob, our technician, and Mike Powell, our trustee, who is monitoring also. Open to public comment at this time.
There are no resident phone callers on the line right now.
Seeing as none, I am now closing public comment. Moving on to item number 6, 2021 budget discussion. My fellow board members, before you will see a budget which is not totally complete, but is fairly comprehensive. I would like to thank the department heads that have presented their budgets to me at this time, and we have quite a bit of information there. We do have the fire department budget is not quite complete yet. Does not reflect the fire marshal, the fire marshal deputy chief position is reflected. The new HR position is not yet incorporated. And due to a bad link, salary line item for staff planner was incorrect. It should be 68,895, which increases the use of fund balance by the same amount. The clerk's budget reflects staffing changes. Those are the highlights that Elaine and I went over with that were the change. Our budget overall has gone down. From last year, it's gone down over $1 million. But as all of you know, in our budget, we were required to show that we had received a grant for road improvement project. And that project is now, matter of fact, 7 or 8 days away from completion for the public to access that Grass Lake Road. And that will hopefully be another successful project that the township has done. By that amount going down, it has reflected in our budget, and we have seen an overall reduction of the annual amount. Mr. Lilly, you had your hand up.
Mr. Supervisor, it'd be in order to make a motion to approve the agenda.
I beg your pardon, you are correct. We need to make a motion to approve the agenda. And
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, that's support, Mr. Powell. Thank you.
Yes.
Motion support, roll call vote, please.
Andrea Voorhees,
Yes.
Liz Smith,
Yes.
Mike Powell,
Yes.
Scott Ruggles, Mr. Roman,
yes,
Mr. Lilly votes yes. Mr. Kowal,
Yes.
we have still one absent. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you very much. Okay, sorry about that. Thanks for kind of correcting the order there. I got excited about the budget. So,
You need to get a life, man.
yeah, nonetheless, we are $1,000,001 and some change under last year. There's been a variety of different things going back and forth. Our continued increased costs. If you look at most of the line items for most of the departments, has been some pension costs and insurance costs. For the most part, we've been able to keep things pretty much under control. There is always those unforeseens, and I expect to see modifications potentially in the budget in the future for any expansion that we do to the community for our civic center project and things of that nature, which would always come back to the board for an amended budget. At this time, any of the board members have any questions on anything? Mr. Lilly.
Supervisor, I noted, at least in my agenda, that the budget does not reflect the HR position at this particular point that I noticed.
Correct. I did state that a little bit earlier. That is not in there yet. Elaine and I are still working on that. And we have a formulation as to how that particular salary is going to be absorbed by the township and the various departments throughout the township. We're still working that out. I, as always, welcome any of the trustees at any time they have a question to direct it towards me, and I will try to get that answer to you, or we'll get you the information so you know what's going on. So,
I just wanted to make the point, Rick, that it did not currently reflect that. That's all. I didn't do it. My other thing is I want the board to understand, and I think I've only handed out one budget to a trustee at this particular point, but the clerk's budget, I met with Anthony the other day and had a discussion about our transition going on. I gave him a copy of the proposed budget, explained to him that the clerk's budget really has been changed to reflect maybe some responsibilities of the new clerk, and that the budget should be more than sufficient for him to get by a couple months in office before the need is that he may want to approach the board for any possible future budget amendments. So I want to make sure that's so noted in the record.
thank you, Mr. Lilly. Liz Smith, please.
I'm the one trustee that has the budget, and I'd like to encourage all of you to pick that up from Clerk Lilly. He did a very nice job, and it's well worth looking over. So please stop in and grab that from him. Thank you, Terry, for your efforts in putting that detailed together. I appreciate it.
You should all have a copy that that was emailed to you that should be okay. You got it. Okay.
Yeah.
There's
And the other trustee, Liz, that got it also. I stopped
Oh,
by one.
good. Okay, good.
I
So-
appreciate Terry being so detailed. I really like, I read every line of it. I'm one of those crazy people that does.
Well, it's a reflection of how that office has been run over the years, and it's greatly appreciated. And frankly, it has served as a blueprint to me over the years that I've been here to look at that, not only as a trustee, but also as a supervisor. So, Mr. Lilly, I certainly thank you for that example that you laid out for this township. Any other questions from the board at this time? Again, Mr. Roman.
We're just talking budget now, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, so Rick, on page 6 of the budget, in the middle of the page, township facilities, we have a whole lot of the annex costs now. Are you thinking you just want to have the township eat all that, or are you thinking maybe water, fire, eventually assume some of those?
We're going to look at a formulation based possibly on occupancy, simply because the bulk of the area there is the township. Our file storage area is 100% the township. The large board training room is, basically the township, and the water department takes up X square feet, and the fire department takes up X square feet. So there I'm giving some considerations to that. Yes.
Okay. And then the only other thing I had on page 12, under interest, that's police interest income. Just so you guys all know, what I was getting, 1.5, 1.75 on CDs last year. I'm getting now, I'm lucky to get 0.1 of 1%. So interest rates have totally crashed. The numbers I gave Elaine for this year, that she reported as 20,000 and 2,000. I know I gave her 14,000 and 1,500. So I don't know if she decided to go with last year, or if that was a call you made, or maybe she just missed it.
I believe that was just this is a rough draft, and she may not have caught up with that yet.
Okay, so should I just let Elaine know?
Yes,
Correct?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
On the
all I
same-
had.
On the same lines there on the police fund, I just had a question and I don't know if anyone knows why. Obviously, we have a fund balance substantially higher this year proposed than last year. And I didn't understand it. Did we not have the staffing that we thought we would have, or what's the extra 400,000? Where's that from?
Well, some of it is staffing and general operations, and there was not a lot of overtime when we had the COVID situation going on.
Oh, good point. Thank you. I
So-
forgot about that.
That has affected a lot of the overall budget numbers, believe it or not, in some respect. And as far as an actual nut and bolt for every dime, I can get you that, or I can retrieve that information. But generally, it's because we've had cost cutbacks and we have had some extra money from our tax base has been growing, and also we've had some forfeiture money and some other things, and it's going in the right direction. So for now. So, but you won't be happy to know that on a sidebar note, you won't be happy to know that the new Ford Explorers, we can't transfer all of our onboard safety equipment onto the new Explorer. It's a different shape and configuration. So I don't want to tell you what that's going to cost per car to flip over, but that's for another conversation. Okay. So
We kind of knew that was coming though with the hybrid, and that's why we were proactive and changing some when we did. So
I know, but it's disappointing that, you can't always be able to interchange this stuff, but it is what it is. It's just the progression. And Mr. Powell.
I just wondered, it's the only one that seemed to have, unless you, and I didn't look under planning, but in the building department, there's a proposal for $35,000 in equipment acquisitions. Do you happen to know what they're looking to purchase for that?
Computers, laptops, technology, things of that nature.
So that's new over and above what they currently have?
Well, they need to have some more up-to-date mobile laptops for permit reporting, and also with the implementation of the rental program, it'll allow us to put these things into place and be able to track things, make it a lot easier and more accurate for the inspectors that are going out to do these once we start this implementation.
Okay, thank you.
It may be a little padded, but I believe they wanted to go have a little bit more in there than not enough, because we are going to try to have the best possible technology. We also have to have some training sessions, which are very expensive. I found out just how expensive some of that training is. One training for one class is going to cost the township $6,000.
Wow.
So yeah, it is what it is. There's no tap dancing around it. It's a BSNA programming thing, and they charge so much a head, and by the time you get done with it, so it's just part of our growth. But again, the budget overall is lower than last year, and is actually a few dollars lower at the moment, mind you, without some of the little amendments that we'll have to make to it, than our budget was in 2019. Okay, so there are some upsides to that stuff. So,
Hey, Rick,
yes, sir.
just a heads up. Speaking of equipment acquisitions, we didn't put anything in for fire, and I know the chief was talking about possibly buying a new tanker.
Correct. That's a possibility. Again, the fire is not, as I stated in the beginning, the fire budget is not done yet. This is just a rough submittal.
Yep.
So we wanted to have this out there so that these types of questions would come along. And if you generate the questions, if you can get them to me, I would certainly appreciate it. And Mike and Terry and I will try to answer them as best we can. And of course, anything with water errands, more than happy to answer. Yes, Terry.
Typically, that money comes out of the old 04M millage, what we call, but they possibly fire find out what some of the estimated costs are gonna be for the new, they put that in the budget.
It's my understanding right now that there is, the both tank, we received the check for the one tanker. I'm not sure if we received the check for the second tanker or not. But upon that, second check coming in, they're actually in the process now of trying to write specifications for, the replacement tanker. And then once that tanker is on order, they'll start, we'll know what that price will be. Obviously, the board will have to approve it. And then once that tanker comes in, we'll sell off the last tanker. So we'll actually have one brand new tanker for the township. So that was the logic there. Any other question? Michael?
Before we get into the public hearing, we could probably save quite a bit of money in the police fund if we hired social workers instead of the police there. So.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted. Duly noted. Remind me to send you something. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
If there's no further questions or comments at this time, I would like to go into public hearing on the budget. At this moment in time, I am making a motion to open public hearing, looking for support.
Support.
I have support from trustee Liz Smith. Roll call vote, please.
Liz Smith,
Yes.
Andrea Voorhees,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggles. Mr. Ruggles is still absent. Mr. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Lilly votes yes. Mr. Roman,
Yes.
Mr. Cowell.
Yes. We are now in public hearing. At this time, if anyone out there has any comment regarding the budget at this time, the budget hearing is now open, and you can hit *9 to raise your hand and you will be recognized. State your name and your address for the record.
There are no members of the public at this point. If any callers show up, I'll let you know.
Thank you. We'll give it 30 seconds.
Okay.
The longest 30 seconds in your life.
Still not seeing any callers.
I will therefore make a motion to close the public hearing on the budget, looking for support.
Support.
I have support from Liz Smith. Thank you, Liz. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ruggles is absent. Mike Powell,
Yes.
Andrea Voorhees,
Yes.
Liz Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Roman. Mr. Roman,
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yes, on this end.
Mr. Lilly votes yes. Mr. Cowell,
Yes. Thank you.
I assume
Public
Mike
hearing.
raised his hand.
Public hearing is now closed on the budget discussion. The next item on our agenda is item 7B, with is truth and taxation. Truth and taxation is that little event that rolls around here every year just about this time. And it's a hearing and a resolution. The township board is required to approve levying the taxes voted by the public after holding a public hearing. Attaches the truth and taxation resolution approving the millage rates to be levied by the township on the winter tax bills 2020. As you all know, and you have a copy of it, and Janina's in the wings with answer any questions that you might have. We have an allocated operating of 0.9278, a voted operating of 0.9327, a voted police millage of 3.9323, a voted fire millage of 2.4588, a voted parks and recreation millage of 0.2921, a voted library millage of 0.9953, a library debt of 0.44, and for a total of 9.979 is our total millage rate for White Lake Township. Any question or comment from the board? Seeing none, moving on to open public hearing. I make a motion to open public hearing for public comment regarding resolution 20-033, the Charter Township of White Lake resolution for truth and taxation. I make a motion looking for support.
Support.
Liz Smith, thank you. I have a motion, I have support, roll call vote.
Liz Smith,
Yes.
Mike Powell,
Yes.
Andrea Voorhees,
yes,
Mr. Ruggles, I believe, is still absent. Mr. Roman, Mr. Lilly votes yes. Mr. Kowal?
Yes.
I don't
Okay,
know
we
whether
are-
Mike's hearing us or not, so.
I don't know. Mike, are you hearing us?
Everyone froze up on me.
Okay, all right. Did you vote yes?
I'm a yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, seeing as we are now in public comment for the truth and taxation. If anyone out there has a comment from the public, hit *9 to raise your hand and we will hear what you have to say. You do have to state your name and address for the record. Rob?
No members of the public are in the meeting right now. Would you like
We'll
to
give
give
it-
it a moment?
Give it 30 seconds.
Okay.
Do, 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 do.
Still no members of the public.
That being said, I will make a motion to close the public hearing on the truth and taxation. Looking for support.
Andrea,
Support. Oh, Andrea.
I have support from Andrea Voorhees. Roll call vote, please.
Andrea Voorhees,
yes,
Mike Powell,
Yes.
Liz Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggles is still absent. Mr. Roman,
Yes.
Mr. Lilly votes yes. Mr. Kowal?
Yes. Looking for a motion to move the resolution 20-033 along.
Mr.
Powell.
Supervisor,
Yes, sir.
I move approval of the resolution 20-033 as provided.
I have motion looking for support.
Andrea will support that.
I have support by Andrea Voorhees. Roll call vote, please.
Mike Powell,
Yes.
Andrea Voorhees,
Yes,
Smith,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Mr. Lilly votes yes. Mr. Kowal?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggles? We have 6 yes.
I just received a news flash. I have some very sad news. Halloween has been canceled by the governor. Lot of
Surprised she
long
didn't,
face-
I'm surprised she didn't announce Christmas.
Well, she'll be working for the Grinch position soon.
Yeah.
I just thought I would share that with you.
boy.
Okay. Yes. Moving along, we have item 9, Four Corners Square Fog Agreement. Now, I certainly appreciate every one of my board members at the last meeting. We were all kind of in, there had been so many multiple versions of this. I believe everyone has the right version, and Aaron is with us tonight. This was just a specific agreement as discussed in detail at the last meeting to protect the interest of the township. Again, it is not, repeat, it is not an amendment of the ordinance. It is specifically a maintenance agreement for a specific location. And it puts the onus on the property owner to maintain that system in lieu of a large container, grease container vessel. So, Mr. Potter, I am going to ask you if you're satisfied. Does this meet the satisfaction and protection of the township?
I am actually pretty happy with this. And as you can see in the, sorry, I'm having a hard time with the earphones here. As you can see in the agreement that you have in front of you here, we have incorporated the wishes of the board. Apologize that I had a family affair scheduled for the last meeting. I wasn't able to be there. But Lisa and I went through this together and have determined that we feel like this incorporates the board's wishes that, this be approved as part of the building plan, which was already in place, but this spells that out, so there's no ambiguity there. And then we have also added the revoking of the C of O as a possible remedy.
It gives us the proverbial teeth we were all talking about
Yep.
at the last meeting. And I know that I'm very satisfied with what has been drafted here, and I think it's fair and equitable. And if any questions from the board members? Mr. Lilly.
Mr. Supervisor, I had a chance to review the ordinance, and I'm not in favor of a grease into our sewer system. That being said, the ordinance, however, that we all have to deal with does cover the opportunity for our DPS director to make alternative solutions to the problem. So at the time being, I'm going to abide by the ordinance and follow through. But like I say, grease is certainly not friendly to any sewer system.
Understood.
I just want to make that general comment, that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Powell.
I just wanted to make sure that I understood a couple things in paragraph B, that 5-unit spaces, that's in the existing strip center, correct?
Correct.
That's not including all the individual buildings proposed on the site, right?
Correct. That's just the 5 units in the retail center.
Okay. Then I had a question. I didn't quite understand. It's obviously a legal issue because the $10 in between paragraph I and paragraph 1 on page 2, obviously that doesn't cover anybody's cost, attorneys, staff, administration, nothing. So I didn't understand what the sum of $10 was all about.
You're correct. That is a legal issue, and that is commonly the amount that's in an easement or an agreement of this type. And I've asked Lisa about that in the past on all of our easement documents have the sum of $10. Nobody, to my knowledge, has actually collected $10 on any of these. It's just something in there that shows good faith, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it's like $1 when you transfer deeds or something, but
Yeah, correct.
okay.
Well, it actually used to be $1 and now it's $10.
It's inflation. Okay.
$10 is the standard now.
All right. Then in paragraph 2, down below that on page 2, I didn't know, I wanted to make sure that you were okay, Aaron, in paragraph 2. It doesn't add and manufacturer's requirements. Obviously, that's kind of understood, but I wanted to make sure that you were okay that no matter what unit goes in, it's going to be maintained per our sewer code that adopts then whatever manufacturer requirements are.
Yep. I am comfortable with that. I think
And
our
also-
sewer code pretty well covers that. No, I do have the specification that they submitted for their device along with their building plan. And, we were, like I say, we were on the fence on whether or not this use was a sub shop or something other than a sub shop. In other sub shops, our ordinance does allow us to make some kind of a determination. This agreement kind of crosses that line, and I think makes me more comfortable with this use as they propose it's going to be used. They are specifying it's a 50-gallon Zern GT 2700 grease interceptor, which is a good quality unit. Our ordinance and our wastewater system standards do specify pretty clearly what the requirements are for the amount of not only grease, but biological oxygen demand and all these other factors that come into play. So I feel like we're in a good place with this to be able to help these folks out. And I don't think that we're doing anything untoward in this in any way.
Well, I want to thank the supervisor because this one comes a long way, is much better than the partial one that we reviewed last month. And thank you, Mr. Supervisor, for allowing this to continue because it's going to be important to be able to keep these strip centers occupied, and this is going to go a long way for doing that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I would
Yes.
just like to add real quick, Rick. That was my fault. I sent that correct copy to the wrong email. And so,
It's fine. Stuff happens.
No, it's good.
And it frankly gave everybody time to sit back, kind of reflect it, kind of go
Yep.
over it. So it actually, things happen for a reason. So I don't see an issue with it, and nor do I take issue with it.
Right.
You all set, Aaron?
the last thing I would like to add, this agreement is one of several requirements that they have with White Lake DPS before any kind of a C of O could be issued there. Other requirements including the payment of their capital charges that are associated with this new use. I would expect this developer to get that paid in full, without a fight. We've gone through a lot of effort to help them get through this process, and I would hope that they would reciprocate.
Okay, thank you. Liz, you had your hand up for a moment, or did your question?
Just a quick comment. So thank you, Aaron. No problem. We just didn't receive the same document. None of us felt comfortable ethically voting on something that wasn't properly before us. But mistakes happen, so that's okay. I did try to do my homework and research on this particular sub shop that is coming into, perhaps coming into this location, and I couldn't find one in Michigan. So I think that's, why we had to start from scratch, and that there really is no parameters or boundaries, as we were talking about, that we could set up in place, because this, to my knowledge, this particular sub shop does not yet exist in Michigan. So I just wanted to let my fellow colleagues know that that's, this is kind of new all the way around. So I was hoping to find something to compare it to in another community to see how they were handling it, if it was working or not working. But it doesn't exist yet in Michigan.
I believe it's a West Coast group that's coming here, I think. Is it west or east, Aaron?
Florida.
I believe it's east.
South. Oh, Aaron says Florida. So, it's southeast. Okay.
Southeast, yeah, southeast.
Yep.
So it's always good just to compare what neighbors are doing, what's working, what's not working. But in this particular instance, we didn't have any comparables because it's not here yet.
Exactly. All right. Well,
They
thank you.
did send me some, quite a few comparables from other installations that they had in other states. They do also have some permits out right now in Mount Pleasant and a couple other locations in Michigan. They are kind of expanding into the Michigan area.
Coming to town. Mr. Roman, I saw your hand up.
Yes, thanks, Rick. So in an effort that this agreement not have to come back to the board again, whoever makes a motion to approve it, I would strongly advise to allow the supervisor to make minor changes to it, as long as Aaron, Rick, and our attorney are agreeable to any minor changes.
Okay, noted. All right, okay, I didn't see hand go up. Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Entertaining a motion, please. Mr. Powell.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I move that we as a board approve the grease control device maintenance agreement between Four Corners LLC, a Michigan limited liability company, and White Lake Township as submitted, subject to the ability of you as supervisor with advice from the DPS director and township engineer to make minor changes as necessary.
And the township attorney.
Oh, well, if you got to include her, yes, and the township attorney.
Very good. I have a motion looking for support.
Andrew will support that.
I have motion and I have support for the grease control device agreement. Roll call vote, Mr. Lilly?
Mr. Powell,
Yes.
Andrew Voorhees,
yes,
Liz Smith,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggles, I believe, is still absent. Mr. Roman,
Yes.
Lily votes yes. Mr. Kowal.
Yes. All right, now that I have to go console some children that I know that are going to be very upset, I vote to adjourn this meeting. Looking for support. Mr. Roman?
support.
Hey, Rick,
Yes, sir.
can I just do a quick trustee comment to the rest of the
No.
board?
No, because
Yes.
then everybody would have to do them. Okay. I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, I'll support it.
Well,
Motion support.
Is it something important that we need to know?
Just that the township got money.
That's
Well, that's
important.
not, that's just news. Okay, yeah. We did get some
That
money.
was
That's-
just news.
Yeah.
Do you want me to blurt it out real quick or no?
Go ahead. You've already
All right,
let
so-
the cat out of the bag.
We did receive $523,000 from the state of Michigan for public safety payroll from April and May. And we were awarded 61,000 for hazard pay also for public safety employees.
Wow, great.
Thank you for
so-
sharing that.
Yep, and Rick and I are still working on more, so
Yeah,
we'll keep you
we're working
updated.
Yeah, it wasn't completely together. We're working on some other stuff. But anyways, motion, support, all in favor, roll call vote.
Liz Smith,
Yes,
Andrea Voorhees,
yes.
Mike Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Roman,
Yes.
Mr. Lilly votes yes. Mr. Kowal.
Yes. And thank you, fellow board members. I appreciate you meeting for this special board meeting.
Very good. See you next week.
thank you.
Next
See you
week.
next week.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.